My name is Ethan Carter. Late at night, long after midnight, while the world is asleep, I quietly get out of bed and walk toward the window, carrying my telescope. This is usually the time when I'm supposed to be asleep, and because of that, no one ever suspects anything. My parents believe I'm in a deep sleep. That night, I'm searching for Orion. I slowly adjust the telescope, moving it carefully across the sky, and then my view slips away from the stars and drifts down into the backyard of the house across the street. Two men are standing there, half hidden in the darkness, near a small shed. I can't hear what they're saying, but I can tell immediately this isn't a normal conversation. One of them is wearing a blue tracksuit with a hood pulled over his head. Their movements are short, sharp, tense, like an argument that's about to explode. And then it happens. The man in the blue tracksuit raises an axe and strikes the other man. The body collapses to the ground without a sound. I freeze. I can't move. I can't breathe. The killer stands there for a few seconds, completely still. Then he grabs the body and drags it behind the shed toward the back of the yard. I don't go downstairs to my parents. I don't scream. I don't cry. I return to my room, crawl back into bed, and pull the blanket over my head. I lie there motionless until morning, my eyes wide open in the darkness. That night, I learn how loud silence can be. I don't say anything right away. Days pass, and I begin to change. I become quiet, withdrawn, nervous. I keep looking out the window, but I never look through the telescope again. At school, I barely speak. My hands sweat. My heart races for no reason at all. My mother, Linda, notices something is wrong. She tells me I look sick. She asks if I'm having nightmares, if I watched a horror movie. My father, David, tries to calm me down. I tell him everything is fine. I say I just can't sleep because of an important test at school. It's a lie, but it's easier than the truth. The only person I tell the truth to is my best friend from school, Ryan Miller. We meet behind the school, far away from the other students. My voice breaks as I tell him what I saw. He doesn't interrupt me. He just listens. When I finish, he stays silent for a moment. Then he says quietly, "If that really happened, then something must still be there." I'm scared. I tell him I can't go there alone, that I'm afraid of that yard. Ryan looks at me and nods. "We'll go together," he says. During the day, after school, we cross the street. My heart is pounding as I jump over the fence. Near the shed, something immediately feels wrong. The ground looks different, softer, as if it had been dug up recently. Ryan picks up a piece of wood and starts digging. At first, he laughs nervously. Then the wood hits something hard. We brush away the dirt. A white, curved surface appears beneath the soil. It's not a rock. It's not wood. It's a skull. We don't stay another second. We run, each of us back to our own homes. Eventually, I gather the courage to tell my parents what we found. At first, my mother tells me I must have imagined everything, that it's just my imagination. But when I tell her about the bones, her expression changes. Her voice begins to shake. My father picks up the phone. This time, the police arrive immediately. Police cars park in front of the house. Neighbors watch from behind their curtains. The officers dig up the yard. They find buried bones and a receipt from a nearby store. A name is written on it, Robert Mason. In the missing persons database, they discover that Robert Mason disappeared a few days earlier. He lived about 10 kilometers away. DNA testing confirms it. The bones belong to Robert Mason. I'm taken to the police station for questioning. Inside, I feel small. The lights are too bright. The chair is too big. A police officer kneels down, so he's at eye level with me. My voice trembles as I explain everything. That I saw the murder. That I was too afraid to go into the yard alone. That's why I went with Ryan. I tell them I was scared to speak up sooner. That I wasn't sure if what I saw was real. Ryan gives his statement after me and confirms everything. The investigation begins. The police question people from Robert Mason's life. They learned that Mark Wilson had multiple conflicts with him over a woman Robert had taken from him. They discover that Daniel Harper had a serious dispute with Robert over a house Robert was planning to buy, the same house where the body was found. Threats are confirmed by James Thompson, Robert's friend. Stephen Lang, the current husband of Daniel's ex-wife, had also threatened Robert in the past. There is also Ethan Brooks, a contractor who argued with Robert over money. Many suspects, many motives, very little evidence. Over time, the case grows cold. People return to their normal lives. But I can't. Years pass. I grow older. I join the police academy. Eventually, I become an inspector. My mother dies when I'm 23. The house becomes quiet. While cleaning old things, I find a box filled with photographs, pictures of my father, and a man I don't recognize. I ask who he is. My father tells me he's an old friend from his youth. His name is Michael Reynolds. He says Michael moved to Australia many years ago, that they still exchange letters. Years later, while reviewing old cases late at night, I see a familiar face in the database, Robert Mason, and suddenly, everything comes rushing back. The night with the telescope never ended. It's the same man, the man from the photographs, the man my father called Michael. I don't tell my father. For the first time in my life, I choose silence. I begin investigating Robert Mason on my own. I learned that he grew up in the same neighborhood as my parents. He went to the same school. He was part of the same group of friends. One day, while going down into the basement, I notice old boxes hidden beneath the stairs. Dusty, forgotten. Inside them, letters, love letters, photographs. At first, I think they're just old memories of my parents. But then I see one photograph. My mother and Robert Mason. Not as friends, as lovers. My hands start shaking. I take the photo and leave. I do a DNA test. The result is clear. Cold, unforgiving. Robert Mason is my biological father. Everything suddenly makes sense. My mother's silence. Her expression that night. Her words. You should have been sleeping. I return home. My father isn't there. I go up to the attic. I search through his old belongings. And then I find a suitcase. Hidden. Heavy. Inside it, a blue tracksuit. And an axe. The same ones I saw that night. I sit in the darkness for a long time, holding the truth in my hands. I don't know if I'm crying for the man who raised me or for the man I never knew. That night, I can't stay silent anymore. I sit across from my father. I don't raise my voice. I don't accuse him. I just say his name. He looks at me, confused, careful. I tell him I know who Robert Mason was, that he wasn't Michael, that I know about my mother, the letters, the DNA test. His face doesn't fall apart the way I expected. It simply collapses. He tells me it was never planned, that he went there to talk, that Robert wanted to tell me the truth, that my mother wanted to tell me too, but he begged her not to. The axe, he says, was within reach. Everything after that is a blur. I don't shout. I don't cry. I just listen, and I realize the man sitting in front of me is no longer my father, just a man who made a decision and lived with it for 20 years. The next day, I go to the station. I hand over the evidence, the photographs, the letters, the DNA results, the tracksuit, the axe. My father is arrested. He doesn't resist. He simply raises his hands. The trial lasts for months. I sit in the courtroom as both a witness and a son. When the judge delivers the sentence, I feel no relief, only exhaustion. My father is sentenced to life in prison. Years later, I take out the telescope again. I don't look at the stars right away. I look at the yard across the street. The house has been renovated. A new family lives there now. No one knows what happened. I raise the telescope toward the sky. The stars are the same as they were that night, but I am not.